Welcome to the Clear to Send podcast, a podcast about wireless engineering, where we educate you on Wi-Fi technology, talk about design tips, troubleshooting, interviews, and the tools. Here are your hosts, Roel and Francois.
This show is happily sponsored by MetaGeek. Wi-Fi is awesome when it works, but when it doesn't, the problem is usually a mystery. Unless you have Insider Office by MetaGeek. Insider Office quickly scans your wireless environment and recommends ideal channel selection to help you make your Wi-Fi awesome, and keep it that way. Check out the solutions at metageek.com to get started, and get your Wi-Fi working the way you want it to. Hello everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Clear to Send podcast. My name is Roel, and I am back from Cisco Live. And the interesting thing is this was Cisco Live 2017. It was jam-packed with a lot of good sessions. There was a lot of events going on, so there was a lot to take in. And I will have some new episodes for you guys in the future talking about Cisco Live and all of the technology that came out from that, because there were a lot of great things that came out from it, a lot of stuff that we need to talk about and analyze to figure out how this changes the Wi-Fi game. But in today's episode, I'm going to continue on with the Wi-Fi apps for different platforms, and in this episode 83, we're going to talk about Wi-Fi apps for Android. And so we have a number of apps here which we'll quickly go over, because I'm not a huge Android user. I don't use it that often. I do have a Google Pixel tablet that I use every once in a while, so I decided to try out a variety of different apps, ones that I thought would be useful for you guys, and some that I use whenever I have my Google Pixel with me. So the first app that I do want to talk about is the Ekahau Site Survey Mobile. And this one was new to me a couple years ago because, like many of us, we use the desktop application. Now, Ekahau does have an Android app, and it runs on the phones and also tablets, and basically gets you to see what the Wi-Fi looks like from the client's perspective. And so it's a add-on that you could use for Ekahau Site Survey Pro. You do need a license for it, I believe. And it's aimed at helping us troubleshoot some of the Wi-Fi issues we see. So you can troubleshoot issues on the Wi-Fi network right there, understand what it looks like from an actual device perspective, because usually we are grabbing statistics and information from like a USB adapter. And also you can use this app to do some very basic surveys. So, like I said, it's a little, you can display some of the information right on the screen of the Android tablet or your phone. You can start troubleshooting, and there's little red or green indicators. You could also use it to find access points. If you're trying to find an access point, you can select the BSS ID and try to find that access point. You can also do some client-side monitoring, so it can run some periodic Wi-Fi tests automatically, and then just alert you whenever that the network portion fails, if there's some sort of parameter that you have set. And also, like I said earlier, you can do some site surveys with it. Now, I wouldn't use this as my full site survey tool, but you can do that with a tablet, for example, and just do a walkthrough and do a coverage survey just to see what it looks like from that device perspective. And that's useful if all your devices on your network are going to be Android, and you can test that with that device. And like I said in the beginning, it's an add-on for Ekahau Site Survey Pro, so you can integrate that with it as well. So that's the first app. That's Ekahau Site Survey Mobile. And now I'm going to breeze through some of these kind of quickly, because I am back from Cisco Live. So if it doesn't sound like it, I'm kind of tired from the events of the week, and I just started getting my voice back, because I did lose my voice over near the end of Cisco Live, because if you haven't met me before, when you meet me in person, my voice isn't doesn't project very well, and it gets drowned out by the noise. So I had to talk extra loud to get above that noise floor. And of course, in doing so, and with the dry heat out there, my voice just didn't quite make it. So the next app that we're going to talk about is from MetaGeek, and this is the Insider app for Android. You can get this in the Google Play Store, and it's an application that just looks at your Wi-Fi environment. You can identify things like signal overlap, channel conflicts with other wireless networks. You can see if there's any kind of configuration problems, such as maybe you got your B rates turned on, or maybe there's other networks with B rates turned on. You will get other features that include tables and graphic views of surrounding wireless networks. You can get detailed statistics and channel recommendations from this application, and as well as organizing some of the networks by different groupings, such as using the ESSID or the radio. And then if you're looking for a very specific network, you can filter based on the SSID, the MAC address, channel, or signal. Those are just some of the examples that you can what you can do within MetaGeek Insider on the Android platforms. Very similar to Insider when I described it, and the other platforms as well. So it's a very consistent look and feel using this application across different platforms. So that's your app, MetaGeek Insider. And so the next application for Android that I'm going to talk about is called Air-O. And Air-O, it's a fairly simple app to use, and it'll look at your Wi-Fi network. It will give you your signal strength, your link speed, and the ping time, and it will try to test it over that connection, and it'll either be green or yellow, and it'll give you the strongest AP. And then from there, it's going to do a couple of tests on your WAN or your wide area network. So it's going to go and ping a server. It'll do a speed test to an external server, doing an upload speed test. And then it'll also do a speed test a download to an external server, and give you what that speed test looks like. So that's a very simple application just to do some very basic tests. It tells me what my IP address is, what SSID I'm connected to, and on what channel. It's going to give me my BSSID based on whatever AP I'm connected to. And if it has the information on that MAC address, it'll tell me what vendor that AP is with. So the test will continually run. You could stop it. It'll give you some diagnostic ideas. So if you're failing your wide area network speed test, it'll tell you the Wi-Fi is good, but maybe something external is not quite working correctly. So very simple testing. And that's Air-O. You can look and set different iPerf servers, which it's doing its testing on. Right now set to an external server. You can have it send you the report to your email address, and also send some background reports to another server. And this application is actually developed by Aruba Networks. So that's Air-O. And if you want to look at these applications, I will also have these laid out for you on the show notes. If you head over to cleartosend.net/83, I'll have all the applications listed out there. I'll try to include some screenshots. I actually just learned how to take a screenshot on the Android platform, so that was very handy, and I'll look to add those into the show notes for you guys so you can take a look at those applications. So the next application that I'm going to pull up here on my tablet is Wi-Fi Analyzer. Now, Wi-Fi Analyzer is one that I've actually used more often than the other applications, and that's because it's very simple to use. And the first window that it places you in is a graph showing what SSIDs are in the area. And right now it's showing it to me in the 2.4 spectrum, so I can see what networks are overlapping, what channel bandwidth they're using, which some people in my neighborhood like to bond those 2.4 channels. So that's something that it's going to show you the signal strength and on what channel, in addition to the SSID name. Now you could change from the 2.4 to the 5 gigahertz as well. And since there's a lot more channels to see on the 5 gigahertz spectrum, there's a slider at the top where you can slide it across different frequencies to see what other networks are, for example, on the DFS network. And right now seems to be my only AP on the DFS network, because that's how I like to put my Wi-Fi network on channels that other people can't use. And so that is the very basic of the Wi-Fi analyzer, just viewing what wireless networks are in the area, on what channel, and what signal strength. Now, the other cool thing here is that this one is kind of interesting. It's a feature where it's going to try to figure out where the BSID is located. And so you can use this app to identify, okay, where's the location of this AP? You set it to the SSID with the correct BSSID, because you can be on the 2.4 or the 5. But when you do that, there's it looks like an odometer, and it's going to have the values, dBm values, and it'll tell you how strong is that signal. And what's interesting is it's got this audio that you can play while you're searching for this AP. Let me see if I can bring this to the microphone here. So as it gets closer, it's gonna beep much quicker. But in an office environment, that is very annoying. So I leave that off. There is another tab which shows you the signal strength with the bars of different SSIDs. And if there's multiple BSSIDs, it actually collapses them so you can organize them much better. And you can see what channel it's on easily just for that SSID. And so that's a different way of viewing it rather than using the graph. So that's Wi-Fi Analyzer, and that's available through the Google Play Store. The next application that I have on my Google Pixel is called Net Analyzer. And the Net Analyzer is not necessarily like a really specific Wi-Fi application, but it gives you information of your network that you're connected to. So the Wi-Fi network that I'm connected to, it gives me my connection information, such as my default gateway IP, what DNS servers I'm using, what my external IP is, your default gateway IP for IPv6, as well as your DNS servers for IPv6 if that's something that you're using on your network. And then it will provide some settings on your wireless. So if Wi-Fi is enabled on the device, whether or not you're connected, which is the data state, and then whether or not the handshake state has been completed, it'll tell you what your SSID is that you're connected to, along with the BSSID, the vendor name, the IP address of your Wi-Fi that your Wi-Fi adapter has received, and what speed or data rate that you're receiving, and the signal strength. So this one's a quick cursory check on the network that you're connected to, whether or not you're receiving the right network information that you should be, and whether or not you're connected. And that's pretty much it that this Net Analyzer is going to give me. So pretty basic, but it's very easy to see the information, I feel, especially when you're just trying to get network information. One of the last two apps, Wi-Fi LANguard, is one that I have on here, because what's interesting is it tries to protect your wireless network. And I've tried using this before. Maybe somebody can give me more information on this, but it tells you what SSID you're connected to, and the BSSID, and you activate it on the network, and it's supposed to tell you what devices are on your network. Hey everyone, let's take a break to think about Wi-Fi for a moment. It's awesome when it works, right? But when it doesn't, the problem is usually a mystery. If you're sick of simply rebooting your devices and crossing your fingers every time your Wi-Fi goes down, let the Wi-Fi experts at MetaGeek make the invisible visible. Their powerful diagnostic solutions visualize interference from external Wi-Fi and non-Wi-Fi sources, and will help you configure your wireless network for maximum coverage and throughput. From a weekend enthusiast to an enterprise IT professional, MetaGeek has everything you need to make Wi-Fi awesome and keep it that way. Check out their solutions at metageek.com to take your first step towards awesome Wi-Fi, because I use Channelizer to actually visualize the spectrum whenever I'm troubleshooting an issue that seems to be coming from maybe a non-Wi-Fi source, for example. And I've also used the Insider Office as a network scanner to figure out what wireless networks are in the area, what channels they're using, and which channels I should use. And just a little tip, you could also plug in your Wi-Fi DBX and use that with Insider Office to get some Channelizer Lite, for example. You can see some spectrum analysis with Insider Office. If you guys are interested, take a look at metageek.com to see what you can do for your Wi-Fi network. So the goal of this app is to identify if there are any devices that are on your Wi-Fi network that should not be on there. So it'll reveal them, it'll tell you what the IP address is and what their MAC address is. So it does a scan of your wireless network, sees what responds to the request that your device sends, and then you should be able to go and track those devices as an example. It doesn't really do anything to safeguard your wireless network, but it really just tells you what's on your network. So it's a Wi-Fi scan on your wireless network to determine, maybe your security settings needs to change, or maybe someone has brought a device on your network that they shouldn't be. But in an enterprise setting, you probably won't use this application because it's easy to figure out what devices are on your enterprise network. But maybe it could be used as just a general security educational background, just to see, hey, what's on my Wi-Fi network? Have I set my security settings correctly? And what can I do to kick them off? And that way, when you change your security settings and then they disappear off your network, those rogue devices are gone. That's one way to validate that the security settings have changed. And that's changed for the good because you made that change. Now, I have a couple of other Wi-Fi apps on my Google Pixel, but they're not as robust as these other applications. So I'm just going to name them. One of them is another app called Wi-Fi Analyzer, which is very different from the other one that I just mentioned. And really all this does is list all the nearby access points that your device can hear. So it'll tell you the SSID, the signal strength, and what channel it's on, and what kind of security is implemented on that wireless network, along with the vendor that it thinks it is. So it'll give you a channel rating. The number of access points on that channel is basically how they're going to rate the channel numbers. So if there's not as many APs on channel 1, then it has a higher rating. It will display also your wireless networks on a channel graph. So over the set of channels, which networks are on those channels and at what signal strength. And then also a time graph to show you when it last heard of that AP or signal. So that's a very basic app as well. And I was trying to compare that with the other Wi-Fi analyzer. So the first one that I mentioned earlier is a much better tool to use. So I'll link out to that one. Some other tools that I've mentioned in the past as well is the app from Hurricane Electric, their network tools. I think this one is a very well-designed application. It's very basic, and it just gives you the information that you need to know. So whatever SSID you're connected to, what signal strength and the data rate, what is your IP address, and that's pretty much it. It's got some other tools built on there. So like your Bonjour browser, if you want to check to see if Bonjour is working correctly on your network, that will do a scan. It's got a iPerf client for iPerf 2 and 3. And as I've said in the previous episodes, because I have mentioned iPerf tests, this one will do it for you. So it's the Hurricane Electric app, the network tools, is kind of a suite of tools that you could use to do all sorts of testing, like a ping sweep, or basic ping. It does trace route. So it's more than just Wi-Fi. So that's an app I recommend. And then, of course, there's other iPerf apps out there, but I generally use the one with Hurricane Electric. The final app that I'm going to talk about is FPing. And FPing will actually do a scan on your network, and it does all the way to the gateway, so it can tell what vendor my gateway is. And what you do is, if you click on that device, you could enter a name and some notes of what this device is and where it's located. You could do a scan of what services are on that device. So when I scan my gateway, it's a router, so it's able to do a kind of a port scan on it. So it's able to tell me there's SSH, it's got HTTPS enabled, and then from there you could ping it, do some ping tests. Okay, it's active on my network is one of the examples, and then do a trace route. So you're able to get a list of what devices you're seeing on your network. And then, so I see one that says Apple, and it's saying it's an Apple TV. So then I can scan what services are enabled on that Apple TV. And so it's doing the scan right now. So it's interesting to see what this app can do. And you're able to keep track of what's on your network, and then keep notes and say, okay, this device was here in this room, in this building. These are the services that are running on it. And then also be able to just do pings and trace routes to determine, okay, where is this exactly? So it's one way to keep track of the devices on your network. You can keep a list of the SSIDs that you've connected to. So here I've got some airport SSIDs that I've connected this device on, and what devices it saw on that airport network, for example. A couple other tools that you could use, some very basic DNS lookup tools, but primarily the biggest thing on this app is just being able to see what's on your network. And then you could sign up for alerts to get email alerts when a device changes status. So if it's active or not active anymore in your network. But that somehow goes up to the cloud somewhere, which I don't recommend at all. So that's I don't know what I called it in the, I think I said FPing. It's not FPing, it's just called Fing. So I apologize for that. But those are the apps that I have installed on my Google Pixel and that I use every once in a while. So that's in the beginning, you've got Ekahau Site Survey Mobile, you've got MetaGeek Insider, Air-O, Wi-Fi Analyzer, Network Analyzer, Wi-Fi LANguard, and Fing. So if you guys have any recommendations on applications to use for Android, because I feel like the Android platform could have a couple of more Wi-Fi apps on there, especially if we have access to the network card, the wireless network card that's built into the device. We should be able to do more analysis and have more flexibility with the access there, because it's not the same as, say, an iOS device where it's closed off. So if you have any recommendations on what apps to consider, which apps to install on here and try out, let me know in the show notes in the comments section. If you head over to cleartosend.net/83 and let me know what you guys think. So that is the end of the episode. I purposely try to keep it short because I don't know if you guys can tell, it's starting to affect my voice. So hopefully in next week's episode, we'll have something new for you. I'm already working on a recap for Cisco Live 2017 to talk about how that went for me on that week. And then we have some future episodes on the technologies that came out of Cisco Live. And those are things like Cisco DNA, and also SD access, and how that affects us as wireless network engineers. Maybe there's like new designs that we have to consider. How are we going to implement things such as SD access into our existing networks? So those are the things I'm going to be looking at, and also going to recap on some of the sessions that I attended, what sessions to look at, because those recordings will be available sometime in the near future. And then, I don't know, maybe you guys have some recommendations on what episode you want to hear. We do have some interviews lined up, which will be coming up shortly. So hopefully we get those published out very soon as well. And I want to thank you guys for listening to this episode. If you are new to the show, head over to cleardescend.net, and on the left-hand side, we've got like a list of episodes that you could listen to. We also list out every single episode in the archive that we've done. Go ahead and listen back to the older episodes. There's a lot of good ones in there, especially some of the interviews. And if you guys take the time to leave us a review on iTunes, because we appreciate all the feedback that we get, and we do want to hear back on how we can improve or what topics you guys also want to listen to. So thanks again for tuning in on this episode, and next week we will see you again. Thanks, guys.